Hey fellow gamers, Chatty Sisa here. So we've got the next gameplay reveal from Mafia, the old country, or rather the exclusive hands-on preview from IGN, unfortunately still. And I will go through this again, just like the last time. I will not comment on completely the entire vid. I will just pick certain things that I think are highlights and which are worth mentioning. But what I would like to say again on this spot, something related to IGN. Yeah, I'm really not their biggest fan. Honestly, I do like it more than what they did last time. So last time the quality was really poor of what they did. Now we do get some more information by IGN and the quality is really very good compared to the last time. So the vid is quite nice. The problem here that I see is I would have rather preferred if that guy from IGN would have shut up for the most part of the vid, to be honest. Especially at those points when he was simply rattling down spoilers for the entire game, telling us what will happen in some sections of the game. So I would have rather preferred he would shut up instead of spoiling so many things. So yeah, that's my personal view on this spot on IGN again, but let me go through the vid and show you what I have noticed, and then let's discuss by the end what you think about this one.
Before I sat down to play about 3 hours of Mafia: The Old Country, Hangar 13 president Nick Baines repeatedly mentioned his team's desire for players to finish this prequel story.
And on this spot right away, the first thing. They said that the game will not take way too many hours, so he was playing 3 hours, which I think is not a bad chunk of the whole game, probably. And yet he's spoiling almost everything from those 3 hours that he was playing, so that is something that I'm really not fond of.
And interestingly, your primary upgradable weapon isn't a gun, though they are certainly here, but rather your knife. Stealth is fully supported, and even better, it's only going to be $50 at launch, or as I like to call it, a reverse Randy Pitchford price tag.
So what I did like and what he was mentioning as well was that the knives will play a very big role, and that was something that was hinted at already multiple times. Also, whether it was in the posts from the game developers or in the previous vids. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and I'm really wondering how this is going to work in the game.
It's the early 1900s, and late teenager Enzo Favara has recently escaped the sulfur mines he spent his childhood laboring in and started to become his own free man while working in the vineyard of Don Teresi, a Sicilian mafioso who protects the people and property of the region from the thieving bandits that lurk in the hills, in exchange for monthly protection payments, of course.
Now, this is something that we knew also already up front, the story about Enzo, the main protagonist, and how he became part of the Torrisi family. I think that was also already shown and mentioned in the previous vids. So there is no spoiler here, I would say, but what follows then, talking about the next sections of the game, is pretty spoiler heavy.
Comes when he's brought along on a series of collections by Luca, the Don's right-hand man, and Cesare, another made member of the family.
I have to say, from a visual point of view, and I did already mention it a couple of times, the game looks really fantastic, but it is because it is in Unreal Engine 5 game, and when I was looking at the specs, I was quite happy that I can still manage with my PC. People with older PCs will be on the brink of whether they can manage or not to play the game, but I still think it's relatively low on demands in comparing with other Unreal Engine 5 games. So that is a bonus point here from my side, definitely.
Luca and Cesare are essentially the mafioso version of an angel and devil on your shoulders, where Luca preaches patience and using violence only as a last resort, while Cesare is more of a shoot first and ask questions later kind of guy.
We let him act tough in front of the boy.
And then we remind him of his obligation.
Which tells me you can
For example,
develop into
on our
two
first
different
collection stop, we visited Marco,
paths.
an olive
Yeah.
farmer. Marco always pays on time, but on this occasion, he's late. Luca gives me an unloaded gun to be used only as an intimidation tactic to get Marco to pay up.
Yours is unloaded. You give him a chance to be brave.
But Cesare told me, quote, an extra pair of hands helps jog their memory about the late payment. Side note, I think I saw more fruit in the 3 hours of playing Mafia the Old Country than I've seen in any game ever. We might need a new Game Awards category for this. Ultimately, no bullets were fired nor punches thrown, and I got the Don's money from...
I think there's other stuff that you normally look at, not how much fruit you can see in a game, so yeah.
Mafia the Old Country ditches the proprietary engine it's used in all 3 previous Mafia games and moves to Unreal Engine 5 for this installment. To be fair, the previous engine was no slouch. Mafia 2 in particular was a strikingly good-looking game at the time it came out, and Unreal maintained...
And I would like to add, it still is, from what I have seen from the vids and from what they were showing also here now, just because it's a little bit of an older game doesn't mean it has to look bad. And as he said, for the time it looked fantastic. I still think even today it looks fantastic, especially if you compare this with some of the games that are coming out, which may be done on newer engines, but still don't look better than something that's a little bit older.
Perhaps the weapon that Mafia the Old Country puts the most importance on. You can unlock and earn new knives, and each has unique modifying properties, giving you a reason beyond the cosmetic appearance of each blade to choose a specific one that suits your combat preferences.
Now, if you look on the right side, I'm staring there already, so you can slash, thrust, strike, dodge, and parry. And my first thought here was, yeah, I'm going to die a lot on this spot. But it is good to see that you have multiple options, that it's not, just like an automatic fight where you just, click a button or a mouse and you have to really work through the fight and choose activities that you need to do, whether it's, dodge or parry, or whether you want to attack and you want to slash or thrust a knife. So I do appreciate that there are so many options, because then the individual fights might look differently with different opponents, and even depending probably on the choice of knife, as he was mentioning. So yeah, that's something that's really interesting.
We can't have that.
This leads to a hunt up the hillside through 2 separate bandit camps before we finally squared off with, and shot many bullets into, the dozen or so wayward thieves that stood between us and the water pump they stole. The familiar
Okay, so what I have noticed as well, because this is probably at the beginning of the game, the pistol is not exactly the best, and it took quite a few shots to bring your enemies down. So it is very interesting to observe how much you can do at the beginning, and then I hope that when you have a better weapon, it's going to get a bit more smoothly.
Less comfortable, at least for me, was the cutscene that followed the death of the last of the bandits, when Cesare cuts off the finger of one of the bandits, takes his gold ring as a bonus payment for his troubles, and tosses the detached digit into the well.
And you almost don't see anything, like there's almost no blood or anything. Oh, come on. So this IGN guy is really... good lord. What a snowflake.
Could be pure gold.
It's a game.
He's got no use for it now.
It starts with Enzo having to babysit the gathering and ends with a kidnapping, a car chase involving you on a horse, a trail of bodies left in Enzo's wake, a stabbed, double-crossing business partner, a happy Don Teresi, and an even more smitten with Enzo, Isabella.
How many spoilers can you cram in just a couple of seconds? Congratulations, IGN. I mean, this is absolutely awful if you have players who really don't want any spoilers. Now, before people are going to, complain about me in the comment section, you shouldn't have watched it. Yeah, that's not what a preview or a gameplay is for. Normally, you look at it because you want to know what the game is about in terms of gameplay, in terms of the characters, and what to expect in general. But you do not look to hear such a ton of spoilers, and it shouldn't be done in this form, in a preview, okay? Yeah, unfortunately on this spot I have to say IGN is very, very awful on this part.
Yes, you'll be able to choose and...
Now what I like here is that you can see a little bit of the description for the horses, so you can see about the horse, what there's some more information about it. But if you look at the left side, you can also see, yeah, you have a couple of more horses as options, but there is a price tag next to one of them. So I'm wondering how much money you are going to spend in the game on some stuff that you would like to upgrade, whether it's a better horse or something else. Yeah, it is looking very interesting.
En route to the ruins showed off the camera you can take pictures of scenic spots with.
Have you ever used one of these before?
Unfortunately, it was the only opportunity I had to use it in the 3 hours I played, but hopefully you get to use it semi-regularly over the course of the campaign. You're also introduced to the...
That was a nice feature, I have to say, so this is really cool if you can actually do something with these pictures in the game, like maybe see them then hanging on the wall. It would be a nice little cool detail, and I really appreciate this thought in this one.
I got to wield a shotgun in this segment and found that it packed a satisfying punch. There was no...
Yeah, provided you were close enough, I guess.
Bringing a knife, let alone stealth chokeouts, to a gunfight here. I brought Enzo in with an itchy trigger finger. Because returning without either one would leave Enzo equally dead from either father. It's this section that allowed me to really unleash my inner Sam Fisher.
Yeah, so again, like I said before, a ton of spoilers. That's something that he didn't have to say. Yeah, we would probably come across this pretty early in the game, but still I would have preferred to just see the gameplay without knowing what's behind it.
The developers later told me that they don't expect most players to make it through the entire area, which was admittedly quite large and stocked with a ton of bad guys, without alerting anyone. I took this as a personal challenge, and while I held out for quite a while, eventually I did get spotted and had to start shooting. But while you...
Yeah, okay, now on this spot I will say something which I have mentioned in a completely different game that I'm currently playing in Horizon Forbidden West. I am not a really big friend of stealth, to be honest. I mean, I like it if it's a part of a quest, and if it's here and there and you have more options, so you don't really necessarily have to go through the stealth route, which seems to be the option here, so I do appreciate it. But then again, on the other hand, yeah, making this the most part of a quest or most part of a story, it stops being fun after a certain while. So I do like the fact that he was mentioning that there is a option to not do the stealth, yeah.
You crouch to make less noise, throw coins, or picked up objects like bottles to distract bad guys, and can either knife them quickly or try to strangle them unconscious, which triggers a button-mashing QTE you've got to be quick about, lest they slip out of your grasp. There are even conveniently placed empty containers around that you can hide the bodies in so that they're not discovered.
Okay, this one again is one of the details which I really appreciate. So if you do decide to go this stealth route and you would like to remain undetected for a longer period of time, it is really important to hide the bodies. As I mentioned in the previous vid when we were seeing the first gameplay, that's the worst thing, I think, when you have to be really fast, because the dead bodies in the meantime will be discovered, and sooner or later they will know what's going on and that you are there. So if you decide to go through the stealth route, then yes, it's great that you can hide the bodies as well in the meantime.
I do appreciate that there are upgradable bead slots on your rosary that affect gameplay, like this one that dampens the sound of your footsteps.
This is really, really nice. So it's something that, again, is a nice detail that goes with the whole historical setting of the game. And I do think that this is a very nice idea, that you can still improve the character or what he's doing, his abilities. But you have something like this, which is rather tied to an object, not necessarily to him as a person. So it's kind of very interesting for me to see, and it's really cool. Again, we've seen this portion in the previous gameplay vid, so this was the portion where I said, okay, the bodies are laying around and they will be discovered and you have to be fast. So we did see this one already, but I appreciate, again, as I said before, that this is now clearly in a higher resolution, in a much better quality.
Chapter 5, the final one I got to play, let me again flex my stealth muscles by tasking me with infiltrating the home of the man ultimately responsible for calling for the Gennaro, and by collateral damage extension, Isabella kidnapping, and dragging him out of his house and back to my boss. Or, put another way, to kidnap the kidnapper. This mission could truly have been pulled straight from a Splinter Cell game, as I had my choice of ways up the hillside to the large villa at the top.
And he's confirming what I said in the previous vid, that there is multiple options and choices how to approach the villa and how you can enter the area. So this was something that I have noticed already before, but I just wasn't sure. And he's now confirming that you will have multiple options. So this is also great.
In roughly 3 hours, I played 3 chapters, but how many chapters are there? Whatever the number is, it didn't feel like a story that was going to be wrapped up in a tidy 6 hours. I don't know how long The Old Country ultimately is, but when factoring in the studio president's comment about wanting everyone to see the end credits roll, as well as the $50 price tag, it's safe to presume that this won't be a 40 or even 30-hour game.
And this again just confirms to me what a moron this guy from IGN is when he's spoiling so much from 3 hours. He's saying that by the end of the vid himself that this will not be a very long game. So why do you have to spoil so much from 3 hours of the gameplay? And you have to tell us what is going to happen and what the outcome is. It's just awful.
The gameplay mechanics are all solid if familiar, with enjoyable stealth, shooting, knife combat, and driving. And perhaps the most important ingredient in a Mafia game, the story, had me engaged and eager to see where it was gonna go. It'll be good to get back to a Mafia 1 and 2 vibe again. It's been a long time. For more on Mafia: The Old Country, don't miss our exclusive gameplay from last week, as well as the...
Good, so that is it for this one. So that was it for this week, and what we could see from IGN, unfortunately, again, as I say, and from the Mafia: The Old Country. It will be coming out on the 8th of August. It's not so far away anymore, so I'm really looking forward. And we could see this time something more from the combat with the knives, regarding the stealth mechanics, again, some more information, and also a lot of info related to the story. As I said, unfortunately, a lot of spoilers spoilers too. But I would really love to hear your opinion, what you think about what we have seen, whether it was one of these topics that I have mentioned, or whether there is something else that just caught your eye and maybe that I didn't mention. So please let me know in the comment section below. And I hope to see you then next week when we should get the next part of the gameplay or some more information. For the moment, thank you very much for watching, stay tuned and game on!